You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. And we have started our segment here, Property Management in the News. We're coming back to that. If those of you are just joining us right now, we're talking about a sad story of a woman in Florence, Arizona, who has cancer. And she and her husband moved to Florence and into this homeowners association to live close to her mother and father. But the community is a 55-plus community, which means that if you don't meet that requirement of being at least 55 years of age, you cannot live there. And we know that for a fact that the Sylvias, the people who are moving here, the woman who has cancer, they had made a request to have a special dispensation given to them by the board, and the board said, no, we're sorry, we can't. And we were just talking about, right before we went to break, about what's called the HOPA, or the Housing for Older Persons Act, which is a very specific law that came into being in about 1995, defining a special community as being a 55-plus community.
Mm-hmm. How to do that.
Yes.
And what the requirements are. Yep.
And what we do know, and seems very clear, is they do give a percentage, don't they, Tony?
They do, and it seems that this homeowners association was operating under their understanding of HOPA,
yes, which
their understanding is that 80% of the units have to be occupied by at least one person, 55 or over. 20% of the community can be under 55, but that was intended for spouses of people 55 or older, right?
That's right.
Okay.
But we're wondering, because it doesn't seem to be clear when you read the Federal Housing Act.
Yeah.
When it talks about the 20%, we don't know whether or not 20% could actually be
under 55.
Under 55.
So, but obviously from the story and from the homeowner association minutes, they're enforcing their rules as they've always enforced their rules, and their interpretation of this law is what they're going by.
Yes.
As they always have.
And so we were talking about how it was clearly unconscionable for the news people who put this piece together that we played.
Right.
They quoted other people who were under the age 55.
And it could be because the 20% requirement had not been met when those people wanted to move in.
That's right.
Right.
If it is the case that you're talking to someone who's age 52 and their spouse is age 56, you meet that requirement.
That's right. That's right. Your household, complies with the association
even
rules.
though you individually are under 55.
Yes.
But the news piece was making it sound like they're being arbitrary here.
That's right.
And that is not the case at all.
Right.
That is what is unconscionable in this piece.
That's right.
There was nothing stating that about this other factor that we've
the
just
news
been
story
reading.
didn't explain that part at all. Didn't explain that there may be reasons why there are some people there under 55. In the case of our story, the couple that are under 55 moved in because they wanted to be next door to her mother, and her mother requested a variance. She knew that she would need a variance. She requested that from the board, and the board denied it. Now, this couple moved in anyway, right?
Yes, they did.
In defiance of the board.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And so here they are now saying that the Homeowners Association is now asking them to move, and they're going to try and exercise their right to have them off of the property. And they're saying that because of this, the board is being mean and cruel because I have cancer. And that is true. She did, and she had cancer before she purchased it. But she also knew before she purchased it that she was going against the rules.
That's right.
The governing documents of this homeowners association. If she didn't think she was breaking any laws, why did she and her husband ask for a special dispensation?
And it's really hard to be sympathetic when she now makes the accusation the association's doing it because they want to pick on her because she has cancer.
And you know what that is? That is just a rationalization. And a rationalization is just someone giving a good reason for the real reason. and a good reason. Yeah, she has cancer, so it's your heart feels for this couple, but that's not the reason why the board was kicking them out.
That's right.
But she is sure trying to paint that picture for everybody to hear that the association is being arbitrary.
Because she wants this empathy and she wants the support for her lawsuit. I have to say there's two things here that the homeowners association did that I think were bad moves.
Okay.
Yeah, and one is, you and I talked about this before, the minutes of the meeting. Where the secretary recorded an editorial comment from one of the, it doesn't even say if it was a board member or someone else attending the meeting, where they said, they questioned whether she was really going through chemo for an entire year. Most of you know you don't go through chemo or radiation for a year. For some reason, chemotherapy is still going on today. And apparently this was said in reference to Sylvia's cancer. That was a bad move. You do not put editorial comments in your minutes. It is so hard to educate secretaries that no discussion items are you're not supposed to put the discussion in the minutes at all. You're supposed to put the motions, the votes, the resolutions, and the outcome of the vote. Yeah,
there was no edification, no good reason for making a comment like that. That is insensitive. And you're right. The boards should not do that. Minutes on board meetings should be very specific. It should state just specifically that there was discussion on this matter,
right?
And then the board decided, and then put the decision of the board.
There was a motion, there was a resolution, there was a second, and here was the decision made.
Yeah, some boards think that they need to do what's called a transcript of the board meeting.
Yes,
I mean, how many times have we had board members who will start the meeting by putting a tape recorder in at the right in the middle of the table, thinking that someone's going to write everything.
The truth of the matter is, it can be harmful to your association if you start attributing arguments, opinions, incendiary quotes in your minutes. That's not the purpose of the minutes. The board should be able to have a free and open discussion without every word they say being recorded.
Yeah.
It's just what the outcome is. The second thing the board did that I don't agree with is that they revoked community privileges for the mother. The mother, who did not break any rules. It's her daughter-in-law. She may have argued in favor. She argued in favor of her daughter and son-in-law, but there's nothing in this story. Of course, we don't have the whole story that indicates that the mother had broken any rules. So I don't agree, if that's the case, that the board should have revoked her community privileges.
I
think that was inflammatory.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Just in closing, about 55 and older communities, if you live in one yourself or are thinking about it, some people may, after hearing this story, say, oh boy, there could be all kinds of exposure and liability in having to make these types of decisions.
Yeah.
But there is a section in the Housing for Older Persons Act that I want to bring out that I think kind of helps put in perspective. It's Section 3. It says, good faith attempt at compliance. And this says, a person shall not be held personally liable for monetary damages for a violation of this title if such a person reasonably relied in good faith on the application of the exemption under this section relating to housing for older persons. So in other words, some people may later say, well, wait a minute, you allowed these other people in, and we know that they're under age 55. And the board can honestly say, well, no, everything that had been given to us,
we made our decision.
We were led to believe that they were of that age.
Sure.
If they lied, we can't guarantee that.
Sure. That's very practical, that clause in this legislation.
And so, yes, there is a role for a 55-plus community. People enjoy that. It is allowed under fair housing laws. And here we have a case, once again, just like our story last week too, Tony, where the story you initially get from the media is much different once you go deep. Well, and actually, you don't even have to go deep. You just have to be complete And
That's right.
and sharing both sides of the story. But here's another example of someone just trying for a cheap emotional story.
That's right. And because we're in the business, we understand what can happen behind the scenes. We often know what the other side of the story might be.
Yeah.
We're not given all the facts, but we've been in a lot of these situations ourselves, and we know where the board's coming from.
Well, that was Property Management in the News, and brought to you by Pest Control Services. When you need to get rid of unwanted pests in your home or rental property, call someone who's responsive, professional, and a proud member of Angie's List. Give owner Greg Keener a call at 952-894-9748. That's Pest Control Services. Tell Greg you heard his ad on Where You Live. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to deal with the issue of financing. What has changed over the last couple years? What does the future of financing look for those who want to buy in condos, in townhomes? More on Where You Live after these messages.